When people talk about crime legends, Escobar, Capone, Gotti, there's one name that always breaks the pattern: Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. He wasn't the richest of them, and not even the most violent, but somehow he became the hardest to contain. For years, no prison stayed locked, no border stayed closed. From mountain hideouts to top security cells, he kept vanishing, leaving governments humiliated and his enemies guessing. His rise changed the rules of the trade. Escobar ruled Medellin with fire and fear. Guzmán ruled Sinaloa with precision. He dug tunnels under borders, hired accountants instead of soldiers, and treated bribes like business transactions. His network moved more narcotics into the United States than any other organization before him. A pipeline that ran from jungle labs to American cities. Officials called him short, barely 5.5 feet tall. But his reach? It crossed oceans. Twice he escaped from prisons built to be escape-proof, one through a tunnel with lights, rails, and air ducts, as if built by engineers, not criminals. Forbes once listed him among billionaires. The DEA called him the most dangerous trafficker alive. To understand how a farmer's son from Sinaloa built an empire that rivaled nations, we have to return to the beginning, to the dust of Badiraguato, where poverty, ambition, and geography met to form the perfect storm. He came from La Tuna, a small village hidden deep in the mountains of Badiraguato, Sinaloa. The roads there fade into dust, and the houses lean from age. His father worked the poppy fields, selling the raw resin to passing buyers. Joaquín grew up hearing the buzz of small planes overhead and learned early what they carried. By his teens, he was selling fruit on the roadside by day and hauling sacks of opium paste by night. In a place where the government was more rumor than presence, the drug trade was the only structure that functioned. He didn't invent it. He just understood how to make it work better than anyone else. By the late 1970s, he had joined the Guadalajara Cartel under Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, the man everyone called El Padrino, the Godfather. Guzmán wasn't a gunman, he was a mover. He handled shipments, arranged flights, and solved problems before they became disasters. Older traffickers said he worked like a clock, quiet, exact, and without ego. When Gallardo fell in 1989, the network splintered into rival factions: Tijuana, Juarez, Sinaloa. Guzmán took the fragments that others ignored and turned them into something new: the Sinaloa Cartel. It began with a few pilots and a handful of trucks, but carried a single idea: control the routes, not the streets. His method stood apart. Escobar chased glory through blood and headlines. El Chapo sought invisibility. He paid border guards instead of fighting them, invested in tunnels instead of shootouts. Under Tijuana and Nogales, his engineers dug passages wired with lights, ventilation, even rail tracks. They looked less like escape routes and more like infrastructure. Legitimate seafood exporters shipped cocaine north. Clothing firms hid cash on the return. Every new layer placed him farther from the evidence. That distance was his protection, his camouflage. It wasn't chaos, it was logistics, and it turned the Sinaloa Cartel into the most efficient crime syndicate of its time. In 1993, everything changed. A shootout near the Guadalajara airport left Cardinal Juan Posadas Ocampo dead. The bullets weren't meant for him, but outrage doesn't care about intent. Within weeks, Guzmán was captured in Guatemala and sent to Puente Grande prison in Jalisco. Inside, he lived in comfort that mocked the system. Guards ran errands, phones appeared when needed, and messages flowed out as freely as money came in. It wasn't imprisonment, it was management. By 2001, he slipped out the same way his shipments did, quietly. Some said he hid inside a laundry cart. Others swore he walked straight out the front gate. Either way, he vanished and Mexico woke up humiliated again. Freedom only sharpened his reach. By the 2000s, the Sinaloa cartel had become a global machine. Cocaine from Colombia, meth from Sierra Madre, heroin from the Golden Triangle. Each moved through routes coordinated like air traffic control. U.S. agents called it the Invisible Highway. His network reached Phoenix, Chicago, New York, Madrid. At home, fear and gratitude lived side by side. He repaired roads after floods, paid for funerals, gave food to the poor, then erased those who crossed him. To some, he replaced the state. To others, he was proof that the state no longer existed. By the mid-2000s, the profits had become impossible to measure. Forbes put him among the world's billionaires. In Culiacan, people whispered about convoys of black SUVs bringing gifts, about helicopter deliveries of restaurant meals. But behind the stories sat tension. He moved constantly. Different houses, different phones. Never the same bed twice. He trusted family above all. His sons, Ivan, Alfredo, and Ovidio, entered the business, while old partners like Ismael El Mayo Zambada kept the numbers clean. The new generation wanted noise. The old one wanted silence. Inside the empire, friction was growing. In 2014, the silence cracked. Marines stormed a condominium in Mazatlan and found him asleep beside his wife and daughters. He surrendered without firing a shot. For the cameras, it looked like the end of a legend. But legends rarely end cleanly. A year later, he was gone again, disappearing through a tunnel built directly beneath his shower at Altiplano Prison. 1.5 kilometers long, lined with lights, rails, air ducts, even a small motorcycle to speed the ride. It was less an escape and more an engineering project. For Mexico's government, it was humiliation played live. For El Chapo, it was proof that money still bent walls in time. That final miracle was also his undoing. Each escape made him more visible. Rivals closed in. Insiders turned for safety. In 2016, a raid in Los Mochis ended with bullets in the walls and Guzmán on the floor. Within a year, he was extradited to New York. In Brooklyn's federal court, 2019, the trial of the century unfolded for months. Witnesses described cash-stuffed suitcases, drug loads hidden in chili pepper cans, and politicians bought by the kilogram. What emerged wasn't chaos but structure, a parallel economy with its own taxes, routes, and diplomacy. Reporters called it a spectacle. Investigators called it proof of a system that had always been there. When the verdict came, life plus 30 years, the courtroom went silent. For the first time, he wasn't the one in control, but outside, the gears he built kept turning. The cartel didn't crumble, it adapted. His sons, Los Chapitos, took over the remains, shifting from cocaine to fentanyl, from bulk cargo to chemistry. Violence erupted again in Culiacan. Each arrest became another show of force. The circle repeated itself. Today, Guzmán sits inside a U.S. supermax designed to erase men from the map. His tunnels are sealed. His routes are studied by the same agencies that once chased him. And yet, his name drifts through Sinaloa like weather, part myth, part routine. Corridos still carry his story. Children still grow up near roads he financed. The Sinaloa cartel survives, broken yet alive. Because in the end, you can imprison a man, but not the system that made him. The machinery of power he built didn't die. It just changed operators. Behind every new cartel and every new war, the same roots, the same money, the same silence remain. That is the legacy of Joaquín Guzmán Loera, the man who turned invisibility into power, and power into a structure that refuses to vanish. He once built a world beneath the ground, tunnels, codes, corridors carrying billions in silence. Now, the man who designed it all sits behind glass and steel in an American cell where sound barely exists. No phones ring, no guards to pay off, no mountain breeze. Only the hum of lights that never turn off. For decades, he slipped through cracks that swallowed governments whole. Today, he can't move a step without permission. The walls finally did what armies couldn't. But power doesn't vanish. It shifts shape. Outside those walls, the skeleton of his empire still moves. The tunnels he funded remain buried under the border, sealed but not forgotten. The routes he drew on paper still exist on maps passed between new hands. Different names, same hunger. In Sinaloa, people still whisper about El Señor. His sons, Los Chapitos, have picked up the rhythm, turning cocaine routes into fentanyl pipelines. The faces change, but the machinery keeps running. In the villages, his legend lingers. Some still tell stories of a man who gave away money after storms, who helped farmers when the state stayed silent. Others remember the disappearances, the silence that followed each gunshot. Both versions live side by side, like faith and fear. Corridos still sing his name, and the streets he paved still carry his myth. He is gone, yet the structure he built hasn't collapsed. It only learned to live without him. Every era names its villains, and every capture is called justice. But the truth feels heavier. When one king falls, another rises. What changes are not the motives, only the methods. The drugs keep moving, the money keeps flowing, and the stories never stop. El Chapo became the face of an industry too valuable to die. He may be locked away in silence, but the system that built him is still wide awake. That's the part no one likes to admit. So ask yourself this: was it justice, or just another chapter in the same book? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if stories like this make you question the world beneath the headlines, stay with the hidden files. We'll keep uncovering the truths others prefer to keep buried.